want me to cut it?
Each of us has a life story. It begins with memories of our childhood and continues to be written throughout our lives. The patterns of your life story and those of countless other people are the focus of developmental psychology.
Psychologists look at several things when they're looking at human development. One is the contribution of nature versus nurture. Nature meaning heredity or genes and how they affect development, and also nurture, which is the environment or experiences. How do they affect development? We're interested in how both heredity and experience interact to affect human development. We're also interested in whether development is continuous or whether it occurs in a stage-like fashion. We're interested in what the universals are. What do humans all over the world have in common in terms of development? And in contrast, what are the individual differences?
We have 4 children. Our oldest is Ashley, who's 10, and then we have Connor, who's 4.5, and Emma, who's 3, and Ethan, who's going to be 1. And probably personality, basic personality would be Ashley's just, they're all very outgoing and very personable, but she's probably just like the guider of the bunch. I mean, she's very good at her little role in the clan. Connor is just a dynamo. He's just very energetic, and Emma is just probably our most humorous, kind of silly, goofy little gal. And then Ethan, just easygoing, mellow, just very even-tempered.
Psychologists who study infant and child development have come up with 5 stages to help us conceptualize the period of life we call childhood. First, there is the prenatal stage, which covers the period of time from conception to the birth of the baby. From 0 to 2 years old is categorized as infancy. Early childhood starts at 2 years and extends until 6 years of age. Middle childhood is 6 to 12 years old, and adolescence usually takes place between the ages of 12 to 18. One of the most interesting things that developmental psychologists have noticed in studying children is that they are born with certain predispositions that cause them to behave and react in a particular way. This is referred to as temperament.
Temperament has to do with what we think are inborn differences in children, their reactivity, how they respond to the environment, how easily soothed they are, how intense they are emotionally. And they appear early enough on in life and with pretty clear differences between infants that we think they must be largely biological. But it's how parents and later other socialization agents react to that temperament a bit later in development that really make temperament come to life.
Most infants fall into one of 3 broad temperamental categories. There are easy, difficult, and slow to warm up. Infants in the easy category are consistently calm and easy to soothe.
I would say Ethan, out of all of them, is probably it's just been the easiest, the best eater, the best sleeper, just real happy, easy baby. I mean, they were all good, but I would say him especially.
Difficult babies are usually quite the opposite. They're fussy, irritable, and hard to comfort.
They probably all are very easy, except for Connor. He was the most difficult. As a baby, newborn, he just was fidgety, not quite content. And I'd say in the very beginning was a little more difficult.
Yeah, it was harder for me to, just pat him, to get him. He always was pushing himself away or squirming. He was, probably the hardest.
Finally, babies who are shy and wary of new experiences are categorized as slow to warm up. But most psychologists agree that temperament is not entirely based on heredity. Researchers have observed that the temperament of babies in all 3 categories can be affected in both positive and negative ways by their environment.
The question is never, is it heredity versus environment? I mean, it's always both. It's the interaction of the two. So certainly you have innate differences with, in children. You see that in the temperamental qualities they display.
We moved 2 to 3 weeks after Emma was born, so she probably had the hardest transition because we lived with Kim's mom for about 8 weeks. So she had right away had a little
She came out very easy. Yeah. We were like, wow, she's just so good. And then just snapped on us for a couple months where she just was difficult, but then went back into a routine of being very easy up until, for quite a while after that.
Another fascinating thing psychologists have learned about infant temperament is that it is somewhat persistent as we progress through life. In other words, a slow-to-warm-up baby may turn out to be a shy adult. It's also important to note, however, that researchers believe the degree of temperament persistence depends on how parents react to their baby's specific needs.
General styles people have do tend to persist. Very active infants, and parents can tell usually within a couple of days of life it's a very active infant, is going to be prone to be an individual later in life who likes and demands a high activity level. There's other infants who seem quite apprehensive, quite inhibited, and these are individuals who are more likely to be a bit shy and withdrawn later in life. We can also predict fairly well kids who might be delinquent, antisocial, from a particular constellation of temperament that appears in the first couple of years. So some aspects of temperament do persist, but the environment can really modify them. How the family responds to that very inhibited, shy infant can help draw the infant out, or in fact keep him or her even more frozen. And how families, for example, might help a high activity level individual to channel that activity can make a difference in terms of how that activity is expressed as an adolescent or adult.